Hello students, this is Nikhilian, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Aggregate, Mangaluru. In my previous session, I had discussed about waterborne macadam pavement and water mix macadam pavement. So today in this session, I am going to discuss about bituminous macadam pavement, dense bituminous macadam pavement and bituminous concrete pavement. Okay, now first let us start with bituminous macadam. So what is bituminous macadam? So here the bituminous macadam, or it is also called as bitumen bond macadam. It is a premixed method which consists of one or more layers of compacted crust aggregates and bituminous binder laid immediately after mixing. Now let us see what is the scope of this bituminous macadam. This work shall consist of construction in a single course having 50 mm to 100 mm thickness or in multiple courses of compacted crust aggregates premixed with the bituminous binder on the previously prepared base to the requirement of this specification. The bituminous macadam, it is a single layer which consists of a thickness between 50 mm to 100 mm. Or the bituminous macadam pavement can also be constructed in multiple layers which consists of a compacted crust aggregates and it is premixed with a bituminous binder. And this bituminous binder is placed on an already prepared base, and this is done as per the specification or as per the instruction given by the engineer. And here, as I said you, the bituminous macadam is laid between a thickness range from 50 mm to 100 mm, and this can be made in three different gradations of aggregate. So bituminous macadam is essential essentially a base course of binder course and ends should be covered by a suitable surfacing course before exposing it to the traffic. Bituminous macadam base course is considered to be much superior than other types of base course material such as waterborne macadam pavement with respect to the load dispersion characteristics as well as with respect to the durability of the pavement. Then what are the materials used in the construction of bituminous macadam? So the first material is bitumen. The bitumen shall be paving bitumen of penetration grade compiling with Indian standard specification. So the material which is used in the construction of bituminous pavement is bitumen, and this bitumen should confine to the Indian standard specification. And the second material is coarse aggregate. The coarse aggregate shall consist of crushed rocks, crushed gravels or other hard material retained on the 2.36 mm sieve. They shall be clean, hard, durable and cubical shape, free from dust and soft or flammable material, organic or other deleterious matters. So here the coarse aggregate which is used in the construction of bituminous macadam, it should consist of crushed rocks or crushed gravels or any other hard material that will retain on 2.36 mm sieve. So the aggregates, coarse aggregates which are used in the construction of bituminous macadam should be clean, it should be hard and durable, and the cubical shape is considered suitable for construction of bituminous macadam pavement, and this materials should be free from dust and it should not be soft, and it should also be free from organic and other deleterious materials. next is fine aggregate. So fine aggregates shall consist of crust or naturally occurring material or a combination of the two, passing 2.36 mm sieve and retained on 75 micron sieve. They shall be clean, hard, durable, dry and free from dust and soft or free, friable matter, organic or other deleterious matters. So the properties of coarse aggregate and fine aggregate which are used in the construction of bituminous macadam pavement should be same. That is, the materials or aggregates should be hard, it should not be soft, it should be durable, and the materials should be free from organic and inorganic matters, and also it should be free from any other deleterious matters. But here the size of the aggregates should be between 2.36 mm and 75 micron. That is, the material which passes through 2.36 mm sieve and the material which retains on 75 micron sieve are suitable to be used in the construction of bituminous macadam. So here in this table we can see the different values for different properties of the aggregate. So here in this column you can see property and type of test, and specification is given in the third column. So the first property is cleanliness. So the test conducted is grain size analysis, and as per the specification maximum 5% passing 0.075 mm sieve. The second property is particle size. So particle size, there is a test, that is flakiness and elongation index. So maximum flakiness and elongation index of the material or aggregate should be within 30%, or the maximum is 30%. So strength, to determine the strength of the aggregates, we have Los Angeles test, abrasion value test, impact test. So the values of Los Angeles abrasion and impact test should be between 40% within 40% and 30%. So the value, if the value of abrasion is more than 40%, then the materials are not suitable in the construction of bituminous material. The materials will be soft if the value is more than 40%. Similarly, if the aggregate impact value is more than 30%, then the materials can't be used in the construction of the pavement. And we have the next test is durability. The durability of the aggregates is tested by using sodium sulfate and magnesium sulfate. So when the aggregates are tested for its durability using sodium sulfate, the value of the test, or the value of the aggregates, should be within 12% or maximum of 12%. And when the aggregates are tested with magnesium sulfate, then the value or results should be within 18% or maximum of 18%. And the next test on aggregate is water absorption test. So here in water absorption test, the aggregates are weighed in its dry condition, and let us consider that weight as W1. After weighing the dry weight of the aggregates are kept in the water for 24 hours. And after 24 hours, the aggregates are removed from the water and it is kept in a atmospheric temperature for half an hour. So after that, the aggregates are weighed, and let that weight, or let the wet weight of the aggregates be W2. So by using W1, that is dry weight of the aggregate, and W2, that is wet weight of the aggregate, we can calculate what is the percentage of water absorbed by the aggregates. So if the percentage of water absorbed by the aggregate is more than 2%, then the aggregates can't be used in the construction of the pavements. The next step is stripping test. So in stripping test, that is the coating and stripping of bitumen aggregate mixtures. So here the minimum retaining coating should be 95%. The stripping value of aggregate is determined as the ratio of uncovered area absorbed visually to the total area of aggregates expressed as percentage. Bitumen and tar adhere well to all normal type of aggregates provided they are dry and are not exceptionally dusty. And this problem of stripping is experienced only with the bituminous mixture which are permeable to water. And this stripping test gives the procedure for determination of the stripping value of aggregate by static immersion method when bitumen and tar binders are used. So we need operators like thermostatically controlled water bath, oven to heat the aggregate, sieve of sizes 20 mm and 12.5 mm, beakers of 500 ml capacity, mixer to mix aggregate and bitumen for conduction of the stripping test experiment. So how this experiment is conducted is, so first we will take a sample of 200 gram which is clean and dry aggregate and which passes through 20 mm IS sieve and retained on 12.5 mm sieve, and these are heated up to 150 degrees Celsius when these are to be mixed with bitumen. And in the second step, the bitumen binder amounting to 5% by weight of aggregate is heated to 160 degree Celsius. So in the next step, the aggregate and binder are mixed thoroughly till they are completely coated and mixture is transferred to the beaker and allowed to cool at room temperature for about 2 hours. So that is the third step. So in the fourth step, the distilled water is then added to immerse the coated aggregate, and the beaker is covered and kept in water bath maintained at 40 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. And after 24 hours, the beaker is taken out, cooled at room temperature, and extent, extent of stripping is estimated visually while the specimen is still under water. And the result is reported as the percentage of stone surface that remains coated after specific periods. The mean value of at least three visual estimates, value being rounded off to nearest 5%. So this test is as specified the maximum stripping value as 5% for aggregates to be used in the bituminous construction like surface dressing, penetration macadam, bituminous macadam and carpet, and this specification is given by Indian Road Congress. So the next test is water sensitivity. So to determine the water sensitivity of the material, the test conducted is retained tensile strength. So here the water sensitivity of the aggregates should be with a minimum of 80%. The tensile strength ratio, that is also called as TSR. So the tensile strength ratio of bituminous mixtures indicates their resistance to moisture susceptible and a measure of water sensitivity. Moisture damage in bitumen mixes refers to loss of serviceability due to the presence of moisture. Hence, it is said that the minimum value for water sensitivity is 80%. The next is construction operation. So, how the construction of bituminous pavement is carried out in the field. So, before the construction, the bitumen premix should be prepared. So here, the premix types of bituminous construction are generally carried out in the field using appropriate plants. There are two types of mixing plants and traveling plants. The center mixing plant consists of units of batching different materials, separate heating units for mixed aggregates and bitumen and mixing units for large capacity. The aggregates, filler and bitumen are transported to the site of the mixing plant, which is stationed at a suitable location, and the bituminous mix is again transported from the plant to the construction site. In traveling plant, it is a smaller unit and can be shifted from time to time along with the roadside as the bituminous construction progresses. In hot mix constructions, the heated aggregates are mixed with heated bitumen in a central or traveling plant. In cold mix method, the aggregates at atmospheric temperature are mixed with bituminous material of low viscosity in cold state or after slight heating. So this is how the bituminous mix is prepared before it is laid onto the surface. So before laying the bituminous mix onto the surface, what are all the procedure we have to follow? So first one is weather and seasonal limitation. Laying shall be suspended while freestanding water is present on the surface to be covered, or during rain, fog and dust storms. After rain, the bituminous surface prime or tack coat shall be blown off with high pressure air jet to remove excess moisture, or the surface let to dry before laying shall start. Laying of bituminous mixture shall not be carried out when the air temperature at surface on which it is to be laid is below 10 degrees Celsius. So while constructing a bituminous pavement, we should take care of the weather. So the pavement should not be laid when there is a rainfall, or suppose there is some water standing on the surface where the pavement has to be constructed. In such condition, we should not lay the bituminous material on the surface. Suppose if there is a rain or there is a fog or a dust storm after the construction of a bituminous pavement. So in such conditions, after the rain occurs or after the fog or after the dust storm occurs, the surface should be treated or the surface should be subjected to high pressure air. So this high pressure air is to remove the moisture which is present on the pavement surface and to keep the moisture away from the dust and water particles. And the laying of bituminous mixture shall not be carried out when the temperature of the surface is below 10 degree Celsius, because if the temperature is less than 10 degree Celsius means it is said that the surface is having some moisture within it, and hence the bituminous mixture, when it is laid in the presence of moisture, the durability of the mixture will be for the short time. The second step is preparation of the base. The base on which the bituminous macadam is to be laid shall be prepared, shaped and compacted to the required profile. A primer coat shall be applied with cloth or as directed by the engineer. A preparation of base. So base is the layer on which the bituminous mixture is laid and the pavement is constructed. So before laying of bituminous mixture, the base should be treated properly. The undulations which is present in the base should be made proper by filling aggregates, and if there is any vegetation on the base, the vegetation has to be removed, and if there is any dampness or if there is any water standing on the base, this should be removed before laying of bituminous macadam. And here the shape of a base should be flat. If it is required for the compaction of the base, then the base can be compacted by using rollers for one or two passes, and the base surface should be brought into the proper profile. And after doing this, a prime coat shall be applied onto the base. So the prime coat is applied onto the base as per the instruction of the engineers or as it is specified in the contract. So after preparation of the base, a tack coat is placed. So a tack coat in accordance with clause shall be applied as required by the contract documents or as directed by the engineer. So the tack coat is a thin bituminous liquid asphalt or emulsion or cutback layer applied above the base course, and the tack coat is applied as per the requirement given in the contract document or as per the direction of the engineer. So after application of tack coat, the next process is preparation and transportation of the mix. So pre-mixed bituminous macadam shall be prepared in hot mix plant of adequate capacity and capable of yielding a mix of proper and uniform quality without coated aggregates. In order to ensure uniform quality of the mix and better coating of the aggregate, the hot mix plant shall be calibrated from time to time. In preparation of bituminous mix, so already I told you how it is prepared. So the bituminous mix is prepared in two ways. In case of premixed bituminous macadam, it should be prepared in a hot mix plant of adequate capacity which is capable of yielding a proper mix, and the mix should be having a uniform quality throughout the coated aggregate. And in order to ensure the uniformity in the quality of the mix, it is better to go for a hot mix plant, and this hot mix plants should be calibrated from time to time. The bituminous materials shall be transported in clean insulated vehicles, and unless otherwise agreed by the engineer, shall be covered while in transit or awaiting tippings, subjected to approval of the engineer. A thin coating of diesel or lubricating oil may be applied to the interior of the vehicle to prevent sticking and facilitate discharge of the material. So the bituminous mixture which is prepared in the mixing plant is transported to the site. So the material or the mixture is transported to the site using a clean insulated vehicle, and the vehicle or the type of vehicle should be taken approval from the engineer. The mix while transporting from the plant to the site, it has to be covered. So the covering of the bituminous mix while transportation will prevent the entry of foreign particles or dust particles into the bituminous mixture. And before transportation of this bituminous mixture, the surface of the vehicle should be treated with a thin coat of diesel or a lubricating oil. Therefore, this thin coat of diesel or lubricating oil will facilitate the easy discharge of the material, as well as this thin coat will prevent the sticking of bituminous mixture to the surface of a vehicle. So after that, the next process is compaction. So the bituminous material shall be laid and compacted in layers, which enables the specified thickness, surface level, regularity requirements and compaction to be achieved. So once the bitumen is being transported from the plant to the site, the bitumen is laid in the single layer or it is laid in a multiple layers, and the laid bitumen is compacted, and the compaction should be as per the specified as it is specified in the agreement or in the contract, and the thickness of the compaction should be as per the specification. And here the surface level and regularity requirements of the compaction should be approved by the engineer. Compaction of bituminous materials shall commence as soon as possible after laying. Compaction shall be substantially completed before the temperature falls below the minimum rolling temperature. So once the material is laid over the base, so as soon as possible the operation of compaction should be started, and compaction should be completed before the temperature falls below the minimum rolling temperature. So if the temperature falls below the minimum rolling temperature, the mix will become hard and the proper compaction is not achieved, and hence the strength of the bituminous mix will not be achieved. Rolling shall commence at the edges and progress towards the center longitudinally. Rolling shall continue until all roller mark has been removed from the surfaces. So the compaction operation is achieved by using rollers, and here the rollers will start its operation from the edges of the pavement, and it will start moving towards the center of the pavement in longitudinal direction, and the rollers should be moving along the pavement until and unless all the marks of the roller is removed from the surface. So once all the marks are removed, or all the marks of roller is removed from the surface, then it is said that the compaction is being done to the specific point. Rolling shall be continued until the specified density is achieved, or where no density is specified, until there is no further movement under the roller. So the operation of rolling should be continued until the specified density is obtained. So when the contract is signed between the government agency and the contractor, they will specify each and everything. So like that, for the compaction also they will specify the specified density in the agreement. So rolling has to be done until that specified density is achieved. Suppose if there is no any specification for the density in the contract, then the rolling should be done until there is no movement under the roller. So in this table you can see the different specification for the bitumen. So for a bitumen with a penetration of 35, the bitumen should be mixed at a temperature between 160 to 170 degree, and the aggregate mixing is between 160 to 175 degree, and mixed material should be used at a temperature of 170 degree, and that is the maximum temperature for the mixed material. So mixed material means it is mixing of a bitumen and aggregate. The maximum temperature for this mixture is 170 degree, and the rolling should be done at a temperature of 100 degree, and it is the minimum temperature, and the laying of this mixed material should be done at 130 degree minimum temperature. Similarly, for a bitumen, with a penetration value of 65 mm, the bitumen mixing is done at a temperature of 150 to 165 degrees Celsius, and the aggregate mixing is done at a temperature of 150 to 170 degrees Celsius, and the materials are mixed together at a temperature of 165 mm, and it is the maximum temperature. and the rolling is done at a temperature of 90 degrees Celsius, and it is a minimum temperature, and the materials are laid at 125 degree minimum temperature. Similarly, for a bitumen with a penetration value of 90 mm, there are different temperature values for bitumen mixing, aggregate mixing, and for the mixing of bitumen and aggregate, for rolling, and for laying of the mixture on the base course. So after the compaction, the next process is surface finish and quality control of the work. The surface finish of the completed construction shall conform to the requirement of clause 902 for control of quality of material supplied, and the work carried out. The relevant provisions of section 900 shall apply. So after the construction, the surface finish and quality control of the work should conform to the clause 902, which is specified in MORTH specification. The surface finish of the pavement should be as specified in the contract, and after the completion of the work, a third party inspection will be done before sanctioning of the bill. And the quality control of the work. So the quality control of the work is done by a engineer who is responsible to check the strength of the materials which is used in the construction of pavement. So this tests will be conducted in the laboratories, or it will be given for the external agencies to conduct the test and to give the report about the quality of the material which is used in the construction of pavement. The next process is protection of the layer. The bituminous macadam shall be covered with either the next pavement course or wearing course, as the case may be, within a maximum of 48 hours. If there is to be any delay, the course shall be covered by a seal coat. The seal coat in such cases shall be considered incidental to work and shall not be paid for separately. So when the bituminous macadam is constructed, and if there is one more layer coming over this bituminous macadam, like it may be a pavement course or a wearing course. So these courses should be laid within a maximum of 48 hours. Suppose it is not possible by a contractor to lay the next course within 48 hours, then what he should do is he should provide, or he should cover the bituminous macadam with a seal coat. So you should provide the bituminous macadam with a seal coat only when it is not possible to lay the next layer within 48 hours. And this seal coat should be considered in the work of the specification, and there is no separate bill that is made for the laying of this seal coat. So after all this process, the last process in the construction is arrangements for traffic. So during the period of construction, arrangement for traffic shall be made in accordance with the provision of clause 112. So while constructing these pavements, the vehicle which will be moving on the same highway or on the same road should be provided with the alternative way, and the construction of this pavement should not interrupt the flow of traffic, and this is specified in clause 112 of MORTH. So a contractor who is involved in the construction of a pavement should provide a deviation or an alternate pathway, or he should provide some passage for the vehicles along the pavement during the construction. And after all this, the main thing is payment. So that will be the office work that is done between the government agency and the company or a contractor. So measurement for payment. So bituminous macadam shall be measured as finished work in cubic meters or by weight in metric tons, where used as a regulating course or square meters, at the specified thickness as indicated in the contract or shown on the drawing or as directed by the engineer. So in the construction of pavement, pavement, the payment is done in terms of cubic meter or by the weight in terms of metric tons. So here the payment for a contractor or for a company is done by measuring the thickness of the payment and length of the payment, and by considering the expenditure which is being done by the contractor for labors and for the construction of or arrangement of alternative carriageway or for the arrangement of alternative road for the movement of vehicles, and the cost also includes the rent for the materials which is bought from the outside or from outsourcing. And by considering all these things, the payment is done for the contractor. So next type of pavement is dense graded bituminous macadam. So in dense graded bituminous macadam work, it will consist of laying in a single layer of thickness 50 to 100 mm and thick layer of DBM on a previously primed and approved wet mix macadam layer as per specified lines and grades and in accordance with the clause 507 of MORTH specification or the project specification as signed by the contractor is done. So let us see what is the scope of this dense graded bitumen macadam or DBM. So first is a scope. This clause specifies the construction of dense graded bituminous macadam for use mainly but not exclusively in base or binder and profile corrective course. DBM is also intended for use as a road base material. This work shall consist of construction in a single layer of DBM on a previously prepared base or sub-base and the thickness of single layer shall be 50 mm to 100 mm. DBM or dense graded bituminous macadam is mainly used in base or it is used in the binder, and this type of pavement can also be used as a profile corrective course. So the DBM, that is dense graded bituminous macadam, is also used as a road base material, and the work shall consist of construction of layers. It may be a single layer or it may be a multiple layer, and this is laid over already prepared base or a sub base, and the thickness of the DBM varies from 50 mm to 100 mm. Then what are all the materials used in the construction of DBM? So the first material is bitumen. The bitumen shall be paving bitumen of penetration grade compiling with Indian standard specification for paving bitumen IS 73. So the bitumen which is used in the construction should be of paving bitumen, and the penetration grade of a bitumen should confine with Indian standard specification, and the bitumen which is used in the construction shall be having a sufficient viscosity or as specified in the contract. Next material is coarse aggregate. The coarse aggregate shall consist of crushed rock, crushed gravels or other hard materials retained on 2.36 mm sieve. They shall be clean, hard, durable, of cubical shape, free from dust, and soft or friable material, organic or other deleterious substances. The coarse aggregate, which is used in the construction of DBM, consists of crushed rocks, crushed gravels, or any other hard materials. The coarse aggregate shall be obtained from the approved quarry. One cone crusher shall be installed at the quarry site. This crusher shall produce aggregates with cubical or angular type so that flakiness and elongation index are contained within the specified limit. The coarse aggregate shall satisfy specification as per the contract. And next is fine aggregate. So fine aggregate shall consist of crushed or naturally occurring mineral material or a combination of two passing the 2.36 mm sieve and retained on 75 micron sieve. They shall be clean, hard, durable, dry and free from dust, and also soft or friable matter, organic or other deleterious matter. So the coarse aggregate, it consists of crushed or naturally occurring mineral material. The coarse aggregate is selected in such a way that the material which passes through 2.36 mm sieve and retains on 75 micron sieve is used for the construction of DBM. So the fine aggregate which is used in the construction should be clean, it should be hard, it should be durable, dry, and the material should be free from dust or silt. The material should not be soft and it should be free from organic or other deleterious materials. And here sand or crusher run screening or the mixture of both can be used along with the natural sand. But in some project with more importance, natural sand is not allowed as the fine aggregate is in bituminous mix. So next material is filler material. Filler shall consist of finely divided mineral matter such as rock, dust, hydrated lime or cement approved by the engineer. The filler shall be free from organic impurities and have a plastic index not greater than 4. The plastic index requirement shall not apply if filler material is cement or lime. So when we consider the filler material shall consist of crusher, dust, hydrated lime or cement and shall satisfy the grading limit set as per the specification given in the contract or as per the specification given in the MORTH, and the plastic index should not be more than 4. If it is more, it is not acceptable in the construction. If filler material is lime or cement, then it is not mandatory to check the plastic index property of the filler material. Sometimes the aggregates fails to compile the water sensitivity test, then 2% by weight of aggregate, lime or cement is required in as a filler material. As in this slide you can see a table. So this table specifies what are all the properties that the aggregate should possess and what are all the tests that is conducted in the aggregate to determine the values of a different properties. So the first property is cleanliness. So to determine the cleanliness, the test conducted is grain size analysis. So as per the specification in the MORTH, the cleanliness should be maximum 5% passing 0.75 mm sieve. And the second test is particle shape. So the particle shape test is conducted using flakiness and elongation index, and here the maximum value should be within 30%. And the next property is strength. So to determine the strength of the aggregate, the test conducted is Los Angeles abrasion value test and aggregate impact value test. And in this tests, the strength of the aggregates are determined based on the values of Los Angeles abrasion test and impact value test. And the Los Angeles abrasion value should be within 35%. Then only the materials or aggregates can be effectively used in the construction. Similarly, the impact value of the aggregates should be less than 27%. If it is more than 27%, then the materials can't be effectively used in the construction of DBM. And the next property is durability. The test conducted to know the durability of the aggregates is soundness test. So here the soundness test is conducted by sodium sulfate and magnesium sulfate. So when the aggregates are tested using sodium sulfate, the maximum permissible value is 12%, and when it is tested with magnesium sulfate, the maximum permissible value for soundness is 18%. And the next property is water absorption. So to know the water absorption test, we will conduct a water absorption test on a specimen, and the maximum water absorption capacity of a aggregate should be 2%. And stripping property, so the test conducted to know the stripping property is coating and stripping of bitumen aggregate mixture. So this should be minimum retained coating of 95%. Then the proper next property is water sensitivity. So to determine this property, the test conducted is retained tensile strength test. So here the value should be minimum of 80%. So these are the properties of the aggregate that the aggregate should possess, and these are the tests conducted to know the strength or to know the properties of a aggregate. So this tests and the values are almost similar to that of previous pavement type. So in this slide we can see a table which is showing a different grading of a aggregate, and here it is showing grade 1 and grade 2. So in grade 1, the nominal aggregate size is 40 millimeter and the thickness of layer varies between 80 to 100 millimeter. So in grade 1, the aggregates which is passing through 45 mm sieve is 100%, and the aggregates passing through a sieve 37.5 mm is between 95 to 100%. Similarly, the aggregates passing through sieve of size 26.5 mm is between 63 to 93%, and aggregates passing through sieve of size 13.2 mm is between 55 to 75 mm. So similarly, with respect to the different sieve sizes, here in this column you can see the cumulative percentage by weight of aggregate passing. So if the aggregate satisfies all these conditions, then the aggregate will be under grading grade 1. Similarly, in grade 2, the nominal aggregate size is 25 mm, and in grade 2 the layer thickness is between 50 mm to 75 mm. So here also the aggregates are specified by with respect to the passage along with the sieve sizes of 35.5 mm, 26.5, 19, 13.2, and etc. So if the aggregate satisfies this condition, then the aggregate will come under grade 2. Next is mix design. So apart from conformity with the grading and quality requirements for individual ingredients, the mixture shall meet the requirement as set out in the table. So here the mix shall meet the requirements as given in the table 500 of Moth specification. So here this table is given in moth specification and it is table number 500. So apart from quality of the aggregate and grading of the aggregate and the mixture should satisfy the following condition. So the mixture should have a minimum stability at 60 degrees Celsius of 9 and minimum flow and maximum flow between 2 to 4, that is minimum flow, maximum flow, compaction level number, and a number of blows is 2 to 4 and 75 blows on each of a two faces of the specimen, and percentage air ward is between 3 to 6. Percentage wards in mineral aggregates is given in table number 500 and 512, and percentage void filled with bitumen is between 65 to 75. So these are the specification that the aggregates should satisfy, aggregates and mix should satisfy apart from the grading and quality of the material. So next is binder content. The binder content shall be optimized to achieve the requirement of the mixture set out in the table and the traffic volume specified in the contract. The Marshall method of determining the optimum binder to be adopted as described in the Asphalt Institute Manual MS2. The binder which is used should be optimized to achieve the requirement as mentioned for the mixture in the table which was there in the previous slide. And also the application of binder material should be optimized to achieve the traffic volume as specified in the contract, and this is given in the Asphalt Institute Manual MS2. And here, if the specific gravity of aggregate is more than 2.7, the minimum bitumen content can be reduced subsequently, where the maximum size of aggregate is more than 26.5 mm. The modified Marshall test by 150 mm diameter mold as specified in MS2 shall be used. When the modified procedure is used, the minimum stability should be multiplied by 2.25 and minimum flow should not be less than 3 mm. The next thing is job mix formula. The contractor shall inform the engineer in writing at least 20 days before the start of work of the job mix formula proposed for use in the work. While establishing the job mix formula, the contractor shall ensure that it is based on correct and truly representative samples of the material that will be actually be used in the work, and that the mixture and its different ingredients satisfy the physical and strength requirement of this specification. The job mix formula should be as per the clause 505.3.3 of Moth specification, and the job mix formula should be true representative of the materials which is used in the construction of the pavement. And before doing this, the contractor should take the approval from the engineer before 20 days of the start of the work. And while while designing this mix formula, the contractor should ensure that the material which is used for establishing of this job mix formula are the materials that will be truly used in the construction of the pavement. And also the contractor should ensure the materials which are used in the construction will satisfy the physical and strength requirement of the specification which is given in the contract. So plant trials, permissible variation in job mix formula. Once the laboratory job mix formula is approved, the contractor shall carry out plant trials at the mixer to establish that the plant can be set up to produce a uniform mix conforming to approved job mix formula. Once the plant trials have demonstrated the capability of the plant and the trials are approved, the laying operation may be commenced. So after the job mix formula approved by the engineer, plant trial should be done to confirm the bituminous mix design. The formula should be within the limit as per set forth in the table 500.13 in the MORTH specification and shall satisfy the quality control criteria as per the section 900 of the MORTH specification or as per the specification given in the project contract. And here the contractor should carry out the plant trials at the mixer to establish the plant so that the plant can be set up to produce a uniform mix, and this uniform mix is as per the approved job mix formula. And once the plant trial is approved and plant trial is been demonstrated and the capability of the plant, the trials are approved and then the laying operation may be commenced. For setting up of a plant, the contractor needs some of the equipments like crusher of required capacity, hot mix plant, steel tandem roller with required weight, pneumatic roller with required weight, bitumen sprayer, dumpers, air compressors, pegs for putting levels, mechanical broom, straight heads, camber plate, thermometer, gauge for checking the thickness, survey kits or the survey instruments. And so these are all the equipments which are required for setting up of a plant. So after approval of plant trials, the next process is the laying of trials. So once the plant trial have been successfully completed and approved, the contractor shall carry out laying trials to demonstrate that the proposed mix can be successfully laid and compacted. The laying trial shall be carried out on a suitable area which is not to form part of the work. Unless specifically approved in writing by the engineer, the area of laying trials shall be minimum of 100 square meter of construction similar to that of project road, and it shall be in all respects, particularly compaction, the same as the project construction on which the bituminous material is to be laid. So once the plant trial is been approved by the engineer, then the contractor should start the laying trials. So here the approved plant trials are laid on an area of minimum 100 square meters, and here the laying trials should be as per the specification given in the contract for the construction of pavement, and also the laying trials should include the compaction as per the specification given in the contract, and this work, this trial of laying should not be included in the cost of the project. This laying trials is done to ensure that the mix is suitable of laying and it is suitable for compaction. And the laying trials shall be carried out on the suitable area which is not to form part of the work, and this laying trial should be carried out unless specifically approved in writing by the engineers. So after approval of trial laying, the next process or the next procedure in the construction of pavement is weather and seasonal limitation. So here the weather and seasonal limitation is same as what we have discussed in previous method of construction. So the work of laying shall not be taken up during rainy or foggy weather. The base course is damp or wet or during dust storm or when the atmospheric temperature in shade is 10 degree, and the constructed top surface should be cleaned if it is subjected to rainwater with a pressure air jet to remove the excess moisture present on the surface. So after that, the next process is preparation of base. So preparation of base means before constructing or before laying a layer of DBM, the base course should be treated. Like if there is any undulations or if there is any vegetation, the vegetation has to be removed and the undulation has to be made level by filling the undulation with the fine aggregate or a coarse aggregate, so that the surface of the base should be properly leveled. So after leveling the base course or after the treatment of base course, next is a prime coat. So where the material on which the dense bituminous macadam is to be laid is other than a bitumen bond layer, a prime coat shall be applied as specified in accordance with the provision of clause or directed by the engineer. So above the base course, a coat is to be laid. That coat is called as prime coat, and the prime coat is a thin layer between the WBM layer and the base course, and this prime coat should be applied as given in the specification or as per the direction of the engineer. So the next thing is tack coat, where the material on which the dense bituminous macadam is to be applied is a bitumen bond surface. A tack coat shall be applied as specified in accordance with the provisions of clause 503 or directed by the engineer. So in the construction of DBM, what we are going to do is above the base course we will apply prime coat or a tack coat. So depending upon the importance of a project, either we will apply the prime coat or a tack coat, and over this prime coat or a tack coat, a DBM course is laid, and tack coat and prime coat are very thin layers between DBM and the sub base. So preparation and transportation of the mix. Pre-mixed bituminous macadam shall be prepared in hot mix plants of adequate capacity and capable of yielding a mix of proper and uniform quality with thoroughly coated aggregates. In order to ensure uniform quality of the aggregate, the mix and better coating of aggregate, the hot mix plant shall be calibrated from time to time. So here, in construction of DBM, it should be produced on batch basis by weight in hot mix plant. The mixing will be done in twin shaft pug mills which will produce a homogeneous mix. The mixture shall be transported from the batching plant in tippers covered with tarpaulin so as to maintain the temperature and the dust. And to achieve a good mixing between aggregates and a bituminous material, the hot mix plant shall be calibrated from time to time. So bituminous material shall be transported in clean insulated vehicle and unless otherwise agreed by the engineer shall be covered while in transit or awaiting tipping, subjected to approval of the engineer. A thin coating of diesel or lubricating oil may be applied to the interior of the vehicle to prevent sticking and facilitate discharge of the material. So the bituminous mix from the plant is transported to the site using the tippers, and this tippers should be coated with a lubricating oil or a thin layer of diesel. Hence, this will facilitate the easy discharge of the material, and also this will prevent the sticking of bituminous material to surface of the tipper. Then compaction. So before compaction, the material which is being transported from the plant is laid on the base. The mix shall be transported to the site by dumpers, which shall slowly discharge the mix in paver upper, while both the tipper and paver will move forward steadily and slowly. The automatic sensor shall ensure that the mix is being laid to proper line and grade and level. And the direction of the paver will be guided by the string lines fixed with the stack and arms on both sides of the edges 0.5 meter away from the edge. The paving will be done in one go for the full width of 9 meter. The minimum temperature for the mix at the time of laying shall be between 140 degrees Celsius to 160 degrees Celsius. So after laying of the aggregate, after laying of the bituminous mix is compacted. So as soon as the mix has been laid to the paver, compaction shall be done with the help of a set of roller moving at a speed not exceeding 5 km per hour. Following close to the paver, roller sequence will be as under or as established during laying trial stretches. Compaction subsequently completed before the temperature falls below the minimum rolling temperature, that is between 90 to 100 degrees Celsius, and the longitudinal joints shall be rolled immediately behind the paving operation. And after this, the rolling shall commence at the edges and progress to the center longitudinally, except that on super elevated and unidirectional cambered portions. It should be started from the lower edge to the upper edge and parallel to the center line of the pavement. Rolling shall be done continuously until all marks have been removed from the bituminous surface. And the initial or breakdown rolling shall be done with 80 to 100 kN deadweight smooth wheeled rollers, or intermediate rolling shall be done by 8 to 10 tons dead weight or vibratory roller, or with a pneumatic roller of 12 to 15 tons weight having 9 wheels with a tire pressure of at least 5.6 kg per square centimeter. The finish roll rolling shall be done with 6 to 8 tons smooth wheeled head-on roller, and the number of passes required to be decided after laying the trial bed. And during this rolling, wheels of the roller shall be kept moist by sprinkling water from the water storage fitted with the roller to prevent the mix from adhering to the wheels. The roller shall proceed on fresh material with rear or fixed wheel leading so as to minimize the pushing of the mix. In the portion in camber, rolling should begin at the edge with the roller forward and backward until the edges have been firmly compacted. The roller shall then progress gradually towards the center, parallel to the center line, uniformly overlapping each of the preceding tracks by one-third width until the entire surface has been rolled. So after completion of a compaction, a contractor should ensure the field test to check the compaction by core cutting method. So opening to traffic. The newly laid surface shall not be open to traffic for at least 24 hours after laying and compaction without the express approval of engineer in writing. So after the completion of the work, the road shall not be kept open for the movement of vehicles at least for 24 hours, and the road should be opened only after the approval of the engineer. The next is surface finish and quality control of the work. So surface finish of the completed construction shell conform to the requirement of clause 902 for the control of quality of material supplied and the work carried out. The relevant provision of the section 900 shall apply. Before submitting the bills to the government agency, the contractor should ensure the quality of the work and the surface finish. The quality of the work and surface finish should conform as per the requirement given in clause 902. So, for example, if we consider the quality of a binder, the quality of a binder should be as given in IS 73. And if we consider the strength of a coarse aggregate with respect to its abrasion value, then the strength of a coarse aggregate with respect to its abrasion value should conform to IS 2386 part 4. So similarly, for each of the properties or for each quality of the material, we have specification. So the material should conform to that specification which is given in MORTH specification or IS standards. So arrangement for traffic. The whole work shall be so executed that there is a minimum disturbance to the traffic. The traffic shall be diverted by making proper diversions at suitable locations and in accordance with clause 112 of MORTH specification. Signboards indicating the location of these diversions should be fixed at desired position. And the measurement for payment. So the measurement for the payment is done in terms of cubic meters or in terms of tons.